morning, everyone. I like to speak quite slowly at the beginning, as I'm well aware that it can take a while for Zoom to let everyone in. But hope you're all having a lovely morning. I hope you've all got a cup of tea or coffee, ready for this wonderful webinar this morning by the lovely Gary Parsons, who will be a big way from Gary, and he's
Good morning.
I'm also really enjoying the good vibes only sign beside
Ah.
Gary this morning. I see very small, and he's going to be delivering this wonderful webinar to you, all about prioritizing you, building resilience and well-being to grow your business, which is a super important topic, and I'm really excited to hear it, and I hope you guys are as well. It's obviously part of our brilliant Small Business Saturday digital tour running up to Small Business Saturday on the 6th of December. I hope you're all really excited about that. And obviously, we are running daily webinars Monday to Friday to help you guys grow your businesses and get wonderful business advice. So I hope you are tuning into those. I know you are this morning. Hopefully you've done some more or you have some more planned. And just a reminder that if you do 10 of these sessions with us, you will get a free gift from us ahead of Christmas, which is exciting. And just a big thank you, obviously, to BT Digital Skills for supporting the digital tour. Obviously, couldn't do it without you guys. And anyone on the call, please do check out all of the wonderful resources and support that BT Digital Skills have for small businesses. This webinar is, of course, being recorded this morning. So if you'd like to watch it again, you can. Some of you might be watching on record already, so that's fantastic. So yes, we want to make these as accessible as we can as well. So do check out the recording afterwards if you need to. And please do use the chat to introduce yourselves. Tell us where you're dialing in from this morning, and do ask any questions. If you have specific questions, try and use the Q&A function if you can, just because it makes it easier at the end for us to find them. But I will be having a look at the chat as well. So don't worry, if you ask a question in the chat, I will try and make sure I don't I don't lose it. But just a big thank you again for joining us this morning. Lucy, the recordings will be sent directly to you as you've signed up for the webinar. So they will be sent, this will be sent to you over the next coming days, a link to watch. Anyway, I will now hand over to the wonderful Gary to start the webinar. And yeah, just lovely to see you all virtually.
Thank you. I'm waiting for the lovely Gary to turn up, so we'll go with that. Thank you. That's great to hear that on a Monday morning. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along. And yes, if you are watching this on a recording for the second time, then how amazing are you? Please do let me know if you end up doing that. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Um, I'm just interested. I've got the little chat open here. Hello, Yvonne. How amazing is it to have people that you see the names of that pop up on your screen? So, good morning, lovely Yvonne. And good morning, everybody. I'm very interested to know, is anybody else having to block the sun out this morning? So, where are you? Is it sunny? Is it still raining? I'm so sorry. I've heard so much that's gone on in the news about people with local floods, and I know the bridge here where I am in the middle of Derbyshire in Belper, if you know it, near Matlock, just north of Derby. I saw the river was starting to get a little bit too high near the bridge that I travel over. And it is, yeah, it's lovely and sunny here this morning. Oh, Birmingham, you're not too far away from me, Rachel. So, good morning, everybody. Right. Whilst you are tapping away, I'm going to be super interactive today, but I'm very aware of the little amount of time that we've got together and the huge quantity of work and information that I'm going to give to you today. One promise from me, as well as you get the recording via the amazing Small Business Saturday team. I had mine, I think it was yesterday that came for last week, so it'll be about a week later, I think. What I will do at the end of this is give you two things. So one is a PDF at the end of this. I'll show you how to do that, how to download it. Which is a PDF, and it's going to give you 5 tips on how to set boundaries. So that's something we're going to cover today, but I'm just going to give you that PDF so in case you are desperately trying to make as many notes as you can and you're struggling. And what I'll also do is if you request for that information, and I'll show you how to do that at the end, I'll also send you a copy of the slides as well, because some of these things you might want to print out. It's going to be too much information on the screen on some, so I'm going to give it you to go away and do that as well. So I am going to move on. And yes, so good morning. By way of introduction, my name is Gary. So, Gary Parsons. I will tell you a little bit more about me in a moment. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about you, the most important person on this call in your business. I'm going to be teaching you how to be selfish, and we're going to show you how to do that in a very positive way. And yeah, we'll go from there, really. By the way, I am a speaker, I'm a mentor, I'm a facilitator. My topic and the thing that I am most passionate about is leadership well-being. Whether you're a leader in a business and you are employed or you own the place, then this is about you, and it's the most important part of this today. So, moving forward, I'm going to start just by setting the scene because I think it's really important when we are working in a business. We feel very alone sometimes, especially the people that are now working from home like me. We start to feel very alone, and it's really important to make sure that you are aware of what it is, what life is like around you and in the business community, because it's something I didn't realize many years ago. So ultimately, the biggest stat on this page is that 72%. So 72% of founders from a report, and the sources there at the bottom, found that they struggle with their mental health. That is 54% of founders that are highly stressed about their business, without fear of failure being the main stressor. Sorry, with fear of failure being the main stressor. We've got 37% of people that struggle with anxiety. We've got 13% of people that experience depression and 10% that have panic attacks. You don't have to answer me, but the chat is there for you. Does that surprise you? Does that sound pretty normal? I know when I was growing my own business, it certainly didn't feel like there was that many people, certainly 72% of people talking about it because we try to hide it. That stigma is there. It's getting better, certainly in general population, but as a owner, as a leader within a business, no matter where you sit, that does feel like it's a stretch. That there aren't certainly aren't those people talking about it. You can see from the, I'm not going to go through every stat on this screen, but we can also see some of the really key ones there. So especially that 23% will go to a psychologist or a coach or a counselor, whatever that might be, and go and get therapy. So they're not accessing that information, that support and that information that might be able to help and support them. So it's really important that we talk about it. And I wanted to start this today. And those of you that have heard me talk before and run webinars before, you may have seen this before, but it's really important that we start to normalize these conversations because when we're going out and we're networking and we're turning up on webinars like this and whatever it might be, certainly within our businesses, we don't often hear people talking about that sleepless night that they've had, the fact that they've just gone to their doctors because they are now on antidepressants, etc. So it's really important that we start to normalize that it is hard. And the more we talk about it, the more we can be there for each other. And I don't mean moan and groan and be that negative mood hoover of the office or the networking room, but just making sure that you are being real and other people have the psychological safety to be able to talk about what is going on. So this is your part for a moment, and I'm just asking you this really key question. Where do you think that root cause is? If you could sum it up in 3 words, rather than avoid, let's avoid some essays here. What comes to mind when you saw that last slide? So straight away you can see Megan's put the pressure. So absolutely that real pressure that we put on ourselves or others put on us to be able to perform. Uncertainty. I think that's a lot at the moment. People are feeling some uncertainty with the looming budget coming or autumn statement, whatever they might call it. The one of the things that I think about is that conforming to those expectations of society, that hustle culture where if you're, we see, don't we, on social media, people where they say if you don't get up at 5 a.m. and you're not working 7 days a week, then you shouldn't really be in business. That toxic culture that we are seeing within business, or it might be the culture of your own business. It might be something that you've accidentally created or somebody else has created around you that you're trying to break that culture in your business. It's really hard to get away from that. But I encourage you to think, why am I having these sleepless nights? Why am I experiencing depression? Why am I not going to seek that help and support that I need? And then that's where we start to see change. And that's where we start to open up and we start to make a difference. So thank you for that. As please keep typing in there. I'm going to have a look at these afterwards as well and into the chat. And as Anna said earlier, if you've got any burning questions, we'll answer them at the end. If you can make sure you use the Q&A feature, that just helps separate it, and we don't have to read through every comment and accidentally miss somebody. So yeah, keep chatting away, and I've got you at the side here, so that's great. What I'd like to do for a moment, though, is just tell you a little bit more about my own story, because I think that is a really important part. Before we start getting into those practical tips, believe you me, I've got a lot. So that's why I've said at the end, I'll give you a takeaway and PDF and all the slides as well. Uh, but I just want to start by just sharing my own journey, because I think it's only fair that some of you have already started to talk about the pressures that we have and all of the reasons that root cause that I tell you about my own journey. And I'm going to keep it fairly short today. So just to set that scene, I very proudly, somebody said to me the other day, you should really have a picture of you and your mum on the screen. So just for clarity, my mum and I are there on the left-hand side. My mum and I at my best friend's wedding. I think it was about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, my best friend's wedding, 2019. And my mum has always been a really important part of my journey. At a very young age, she split up with my dad. She became an only parent, and she was always there for me. She was always making sure that I had everything that I wanted within reason, within those small limits ultimately that you have when you're growing up and you have a single parent that is looking after you. But she always made me also want to make sure that I was out giving back to her as well. It was really important for me, and I don't know about you, when we have our parents looking after us as we grow up, we want to make sure that we support them as they get older, as we get older, and we're able to give back. So that's always been really, really important for me. And then in 2009, in that global recession, at the tail end of a global recession, I did a really scary thing, and I moved away from my mum, away from family and friends. And I moved about 100 miles away from over near Chester, where I grew up, over to here in Derbyshire, where I now am. I, like I say, it was really scary, and I decided that I would start a business. I started that business with a friend that I'd had for many years. We both had some experience within the industry that we were in, and we decided, and I always say it's the craziest and best decision I ever made. I'm not quite sure which it was more. Certainly felt very crazy in 2009 to start a business up. And we started it up around recruitment and people. And of course, you know that in 2009, the unemployment levels were at their highest. People were losing their jobs left, right, and centre. And we were going in to support companies to find the best staff, the best talent to be able to help their business grow and operationally be amazing. And that was a real, sounds quite hard, and it was. And I put everything into it. I put every part of me into that business to grow, and it paid off. In 2017, you'll see on the right hand side, I was stood on that stage at an awards ceremony. And in lots of ways, when we go to award ceremonies, they read a little bit out. There you go on stage, you stand in front of the photographer and you shake the hand. Does anyone experience that? And then you normally ushered off the stage. No, this one, they asked me to stand on a stage and give a short speech. That for me was another scary part of my journey. In 2017, I'd just been diagnosed with depression, with severe depression. After several conversations with my doctor earlier in the year, where he's started to ask me about my stress levels. And I used to say to him, by the way, oh, my stress levels, everyone else might say I'm probably a 10 out of 10, but actually, probably a 10 out of 20, which feels wrong now when I look back, because who can move that 10 out of 10 to a 10 out of 20? We can't move our tolerance of that higher and say it's fine and move it up to 30 to 40 to 50. That is a 10 out of 10. That is a lot for anybody to take on. And I felt like I was indestructible. I felt like I was a superhuman. But actually, like I say, months later, I got diagnosed with severe depression. I was stood on that stage having a business that was turning over seven figures at that point in 2017. We were growing about 250% year on year, which in itself feels quite painful, but very exciting, I guess, at the same time. And what I'd like you to get that sense of really is that at that point where I stood on a stage and having those mental health challenges, we don't associate that, do we? When we talk about mental health and well-being, we and poor mental health or challenging mental health, we always talk about it in a sense that we are ultimately failing. But what I was doing by standing on that stage was shouting about success. But what I wasn't talking about is what I was going through behind the scenes. That cognitive behavioral therapist that I was working with, those antidepressants that I was taking, that real turmoil that I was going through and holding back those tears on the stage, talking about the amazing things that we're doing, but absolutely feeling crushed on the inside. So finally, I'm moving forward from 2017 to last year, 2024. I finally stepped down from that business. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment because it did go on and it did do particularly well, even more so. But last year I found a word. I found the word selfish. What word comes to mind when you hear the word selfish? I mean, by all means, pop a short a short couple of words into the chat to let me know what you think when you see the word selfish. For me, it felt painful. It felt really judgy. It felt hard. For years, I'd seen the word selfish as that egotistical, self-centered person that didn't care about anybody else. Unkind, wrong, mean. I'm going to tap into that one in a minute. Norma's, for people that can't see the chat, Norma has typed selfish people live longer. I'm going to tap into that in a moment. But yeah, I felt really pained by it. But I realized that if I started to take that guilt away that comes with the word selfish, actually, years later, I could start being more selfish and I could start looking after me and look after my own needs first so I could start showing up for everybody else. Somebody said to me the other day, it's not about being selfless, it's about being self more and being there for everybody else. But if we are empty, we can't look after those other people. For those of you that have been on a plane recently, and I'm sure you hear this a lot as well on your lovely adventures, that where we get told to put our mask on first before we then help the person next to us that is depending on us, because we can't do it the other way around. We can't expect them to make sure that we are okay. So after 2017, when you saw that picture of me stood on that stage, I started to realize that I needed to change the way that I did things. I got better with my life work balance. Notice the conscious wording there, my life work balance. Started to get that in shape. I started to look at the culture of our organization. What was I doing by standing there as a leader and making the team feel like I was always there every second of every moment? That impact and the results that I saw for the 3, 4, 5, 6 years later was that the teams felt more empowered. They felt like they could go and own their work or their area of the business, sometimes in perhaps a little bit of banter there without me sticking my oar in, which was great for me, great for them. And we started to scale in a really sustainable way. We made an acquisition, talking about scary, we made an acquisition that doubled the size of the business at the end of 21, the beginning of 2022. It meant that we were double the size. I think there was about £10,000 difference between the two businesses. And it meant that we started to trade with clients certainly across the UK, but clients that we had in Singapore, in Hong Kong, Scotland, certainly across the world. And I started to realize what we'd done and what I'd changed about myself and the learnings that I had that I'm going to share with you today made that business scalable and sustainable. And I don't just mean the business, I mean me as an individual. And yes, for those of you that can't see me on a screen, I have a t-shirt on in bright yellow, the brightest person in the room, and it says selfish on the front of it because I now live my life more selfishly in that positive way without the guilt. What I did in 2017 and moving forward is that I started to live my life as selfish, but I started to lead in a selfish way as well. And I call that selfish leadership. It's what I go out and talk to people about now. I teach them, I train, and I mentor people in that way as well, because it's really important that they start to learn these lessons if they want to grow and you want to grow a sustainable business. Having a team that are empowered, one where they see me prioritize me and they start to prioritize themselves. And it isn't about, I guess it isn't about that time aspect. It's more about me not burning myself out. More on that in a minute. I'm not going to talk through this today, but we are going to touch on some of these areas. Ultimately, selfish leadership is built on what I call the self framework. So that is about setting boundaries. It's about elevating your well-being. It's about leading with intention, being intentional. And it's about fostering growth for you, and fostering that growth in the team as well, as I've just said about empowering that team as well. So a few lessons that I'm going to go through with you today. I'm just going to grab a glass of water, a sip of water. The first one, the first exciting practical tip that I can give you, if you don't take anything else away today, please take this away: how to set boundaries. It's so important that we go through this. Now, what are boundaries? Boundaries are not a barrier. They are those guardrails that help us, protect us. They're designed to keep people, vehicles on that motorway, keep us from straying into those dangerous areas. What boundaries aren't is they aren't about saying stop or no access or don't come in, don't pass go, do not pass. I'm not going to do that today for Lord of the Rings fans. But I would like you to think of it as that kind of supportive boundary opposed to that solid wall. So I've already mentioned, so think of it and start to see the boundaries as what we see alongside motorways, where we stop cars from veering off that road. It stops us and keeps us safe when we're on bridges. Those elevated walkways that we might see might be a staircase you've got at home, like I have outside this room, or a balcony, or those industrial zones where there's dangerous machinery. It supports us, it protects us, it looks after us. So I would like you to think as that guardrail as saying to you that I'm still here, I'm still supporting you as an employee or a colleague around me, but here is that safe line, that tape that we might put on the floor that says beware, do do not cross that yellow line, perhaps, on the metro and the underground and the trains. As the leaders, we normally make probably two main mistakes. We either don't have any boundaries at all, so we run off that road, we burn out, we become overwhelmed, or we have those really rigid walls where we become unavailable. And we see it a lot on teams where people start showing up red on team because we aren't available to them, and we become disconnected, or we feel quite cold because we're trying to do a very harsh, rigid boundary. So this is all about having a really healthy leadership boundary that works like a guardrail, where it's clear, it's visible, it's protective, and it still allows that connection and allows that movement as well. Thank you, Judith. Yeah, I love analogies, by the way, so get used to them today. So I'm just going to just talk about what types of boundaries for a moment, because I think it's really important, because we do quite often see, and I've just described boundaries as quite physical things. In the workplace, we might see those boundaries as like that. Best way to describe them, I guess, is like those visible limits. So they're there to protect your time, your energy, and body. So they are practical, they're structural, and usually you can measure them. So I popped on the screen some examples here. So yes, working hours might be a physical boundary. Those diary calendar blocks where we block a couple of hours out or a morning or a day out to work on a particular project or have some downtime or do the admin that we mean to get on top of. Eating lunch. Just having a lunch in the first place might be a great start, mightn't it? But eating lunch is definitely a good area to start with as well. And having a holiday, a non-working holiday, a work-free holiday, that's a real um, good example of how we might see a physical boundary. Um, how they might show up, by the way, when they're broken, just to give you some examples here. So you might start to feel rushed. Does anyone start to recognize these signs? Do you feel rushed, tired, overbooked? I have that sometimes where I'm doing a lot of speaking gigs in one week and I've got my mentees alongside that. Do I feel like I've got too much going on, that I feel physically depleted? Are you saying things like, I just need one more hour, or I'll catch up with it this weekend? How often have you said that over the last month, over the last week? How often have you just needed that one more day or that one more hour? So emotional boundaries, we'll just come on to that briefly before we move on. Best way to describe the other types of emotional boundaries is that they are internal limits. They protect your mental space, your identity, your emotional energy, especially for those of us that are more emotive. They are about what you will and will not carry for other people. So some examples that you'll see there are the conversations, so those disrespectful conversations that we might get into, those stressful situations that we might find ourselves involved in. We might end up taking on problems of others and be that superhero and coming in to save the day. But we can't take those problems on when we don't have that headspace. And it's really important that in certainly some of the work that we do, we absolutely need to make sure we have that headspace. Some of you might recognize that by feeling drained, resentful, overstimulated, or emotionally hijacked. You'll start to say things like, why am I always the one that holds things together? Why am I always the one that comes in and sorts this out? Why am I the only one that's taking this disrespect that I'm being given, perhaps even from people that are more senior than you? I don't know the level that people are at on the call today, but it might be somebody that's more senior with you, or even a business partner that you might be around that is treating you and being disrespectful. That might be crossing your emotional boundary. And the best way to look at it, by the way, so that key difference between physical and emotional boundaries, that those physical boundaries they keep others out of your calendar. Whereas emotional boundaries keep others out of your nervous system. So that think about that physical calendar and that emotional nervous system. So one protects your time and the other one, emotional, protects your sense of self. So hopefully now we know what a boundary is, or the types of boundaries. And I'm just looking over here because I've got lots of screens. So what I'd like you to think about boundaries and those silent boundaries particularly, I'm just going to read this out. So silent boundaries are not just unspoken expectations. People will cross them without ever knowing that they existed. So my question for you is, how loud and how visible are your boundaries? Can people see them, or are they just silent boundaries? I want you to have a think about, oh, actually, I've just jumped back on this. We'll leave that on the screen now. Um, I want you to think about boundaries in a sense of if it's not real, they're not real until they're communicated. That boundary, they aren't, they're only as strong as your second response. So that first time that somebody crosses your line, crosses that boundary, what we're doing is we're teaching them where that line is. That second time, what they're probably doing is they're watching if we really meant it. So I'd like you to try to remember that every time that you break your own boundary, what you're starting to do is you're starting to teach others that your well-being is negotiable. So we really need to hold and keep as much power as we can in holding those boundaries. And ultimately, and they do feel painful, by the way, those boundaries, when we are standing there and saying no. When we hold a boundary, we actually start it. We, I guess I put it on here really clearly is that we expect friction and not applause. So what I mean by that is that we do feel that it is uncomfortable at first, ultimately. And when you hold a boundary, some people will be shocked, some will test it, some will disrespect. Sorry, some will respect you more. I should get that words right. Some people respect you more for it, and a few might resent you for it. So that resistance isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong, by the way. It's a sign that it's a new system and that people are adjusting to that new rule. So if you consider the fact that if your boundary upsets somebody, it doesn't mean that you're being unkind. Just don't be an idiot with it. I guess is my disclaimer. Just don't be an idiot with it. But it might just feel uncomfortable at first. So yeah, so don't so I mean I guess start to expect that friction and don't expect an applause. So how do we hold a boundary, you're asking? Because that's the hardest part of this. So first of all, I want you to think about one boundary, one thing that you're not particularly great at doing, where you might work that extra hour or that extra day, where no feels a really difficult word to say. So we'll first of all, and I've got an example on the screen here for you. That first example is naming it. So what you might say is, someone might say to me, Gary, I've got a meeting at 5 o'clock. Can you come along? And my answer might be, I don't take meetings after 4 p.m. You've named it. That is your boundary. I do not take meetings after 4 p.m. By the way, I don't take meetings before 10 a.m. and I don't take them after 4 p.m. And that is a real clear boundary that I have with my PA and I have with clients as well. Explain it if you want to. If you're struggling to justify it, you feel a bit harsh. Remember that friction. So that so Johnny, I don't take meetings after 4 p.m. That keeps me clear-headed for the next day. That's why I do it. So people start to understand. You're going to hold it. So when somebody asks you at 4:30, you need to be going back to them and saying, I'm protecting my boundary. Let's do that tomorrow morning instead. So we're reminding them of it because remember that silent boundary that we're holding and make sure it's as visible as we can. And then lastly on here, to be able to hold a boundary, repeat it without the drama. So calmly, consistently, not with anger, is the power. Remember, don't be an idiot with this. So holding boundaries is not about being difficult, it's about being sustainable. So remember that. It's going to be a really hard lesson, and we don't have enough. I'd normally spend a good half an hour. We'd go into groups and practice it. We don't have time to do that today, but start to practice in the mirror, start to practice with a colleague. You might have somebody that you know that's on this call as well. Please start to practice these boundaries. The more we do it, the more we get used to it, the more other people start to hear it. Just don't be an idiot with it. I should have that as a big disclaimer, shouldn't I, on the screen? So that's boundaries. And yes, I just saw someone saying it. Yeah, Lara, it is the biggest job. And doing it with love. That's why we're doing it. We're doing it with love. But we are actually doing it to protect our energy. And it's really hard to not talk about boundaries and talk about protecting our energy here. So bear with me. So, yeah, absolutely. One of the main areas that we need to look at is protecting our energy. I'm going to come up with an analogy here for you for a moment. So, we spend a lot of time talking about time management within leadership, but honestly, time isn't your real limiter in what you do. Energy is. So that's why we look at energy, because time, as we just said, we start to extend and we start to do more and more and more. So with energy, you have about 8 hours on the clock, and you can still be useless after 4 hours if you've not got enough energy in your tank. So I'd like you to start thinking a little bit like money. For those financiers on the call, you will appreciate my profit and loss. For those of you who don't, we are literally looking at a bank account where we draw money out and we pay money in. So those deposits and withdrawals ultimately. And we start to think about, I guess, start to call out like your energy economy or your energy bank account, your emotional bank account. So a quick pulse check for a moment then. So if your energy account was a bank balance, I'd like you to just think for a moment and pop it into the chat if you're comfortable to. Where would you say, are you in profit right now? Or are you on overdraft? Are you spending far too much energy? Or are you massively in a good place because it's Monday morning? And for those of you who are watching back, whatever time of the week and day it is, are you watching this at late at night? Where is your bank account at? Are you in profit? Are you full of energy? Or are you majorly overdrawn? Okay, Judith, we need to talk. Or are you breaking even? I love that. Overdraft. We don't have an overdraft when it comes to energy. That's a cheating answer. I'm not going to let you have that. We don't. We think that we do. We start to feel like we've got this energy, little saving energy somewhere. We don't have that. We're humans. We don't have an overdraft. When we when you start to think about it, every day that you're making these transactions with energy, when you deposit or you invest energy, you're doing it, you're moving forward, you're feeling inspired, you're excited, you're invested, it's exciting. But when you're withdrawing or you're leaking the energy, you're firefighting probably. You're always available for people and you're probably worrying about things that you can't control. So the challenge and where most leaders struggle, they don't track their energy like budgets, and then they're broke by Friday. Comes round 5 p.m. on a Friday. Some of you are probably broke by a Wednesday. So we need to get really clever, and it's really important that we do work on our energy. That neurosciencey bit, I'm just going to throw in a bit of nerdy kind of neurosciencey bit for a minute for the technical of you amongst us. We start to see it particularly in terms of that decision fatigue, that constant switching between different tasks, all the different challenges and the different problems and the different arguments or disagreements that are coming up. We walk out of one meeting with disrespectful conversations. We walk into the next meeting with colleagues that are that are burnt out themselves and they are really struggling, and we want to go in and save the day there, that does affect us from a neuroscience point of view, that constant changing as well. So I'd like you to think about like protecting your energy not as like that indulgent activity, but almost as that operational discipline, that sustainability that we need to have. Questions for you to think about. And like I say, at the end of this, I'm going to ask you a question and get you to give me your email addresses or whatever the best way to do it is. And I will send you these slides. But the best questions to be asking to yourself are who or what gives me emotional energy? What fills that? What gives you that deposit back into your emotional bank account? Who or what is draining it? And what's one boundary or ritual that would protect it this week? That's a great to start doing this on a Monday. What's that one boundary or thing that you could change this week that would help? Oh, I'm looking at that. I'm going to read through some of these comments in a minute. I can't be distracted by that, Victoria. That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing. One last thing I'd just like to think about here, by the way. So it's the pressure check. Some of you might recognize this. It's when we talk about that stretch and comfort zone. I'd like you to think about where do you get to perhaps by a Wednesday? Are you in that comfort zone? Are you coasting? Because it's not a great place to be when we are in that comfort zone. We're not being stretched enough. But we like to be stretched. It helps us perform. It helps us do particularly well. So if you're in that stretch zone, you're engaged, you're performing. But are you at that very dangerous edge of being in that panic zone? On a Wednesday towards the end of the week, are you overloaded? Are you start to be more reactive? Are you depleted with your energy? It's a really interesting tool to start just thinking about that. So if you're in that comfort zone, can you start adding more challenges? Can you do stuff that excites you more? If you're slipping into that panic zone, then do you need to reduce that load? Do you need to start thinking about recovery, reset those expectations? Sorry, if you're in that panic zone, should I say? And if you're in that stretch zone, ultimately keep going in that stretch zone. Just make sure that you're not tipping too much towards panic zone. I love having a little clock over here. I'm like seeing where we're going to. So I'm going to try and wrap this up in the next 7 minutes so we can get some questions and answers in here in about 7 minutes' time. Let's see how well I do. Um, the third and final bit on this, and we could talk all day. There's probably 3 different workshops in this. So thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully you're taking something away and you're going to do something differently into this. So I want you to start finally taking that pressure off, thinking about being kind to yourself. I'd like you to think about how you define term growth on your own terms. You can see like I've started to go already. Now I'm going to give you this amazing, beautiful quote, and I don't use a lot of quotes, but I absolutely love Maya Angelou. For those of you who don't know that Maya, so Maya is best known and celebrated as a writer, a civil rights activist, and her words are still very much used to inspire purpose and authenticity in what we do. And two my most favorite words are purpose and authenticity. So, reading it out to you, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. Feel free to pop into the chat if you feel comfortable, or just sit there and reflect for a moment. How do you define success? Is it about liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it? Or is it about those big numbers that we chase after? Is it about hitting that £1 billion figure or floating on a stock exchange? Or are we comfortable with that 10, 20, 30, 40? Somebody said to me the other day, I'd love to be the Brené Brown. For any of you that know Brené Brown, I've got Brené Brown's books over there. I think she's worth about $6 billion now when I last looked up. And Brené Brown is very successful. But could you be the £100,000 version of Brené Brown? Is that okay? I think that's Fine. That's great. Lots of us will be happy with that. What, how do you define success? Are you liking what you're doing? Is it aligned to your values? It's really important to think about that and just reflect on that this week. Don't make any hasty decisions, by the way, but just reflect this week. Where would you like to be? When we plan for growth and we plan for achieving and working towards those success goals, there's two ways of doing it and two ways that I've seen this done. There's the healthy growth, that real strategic growth where we it really strengthens the foundations and gives us the opportunity to reflect as we're growing. It might come with some slower revenue increases. It We have some real strong margins in there. It's happy, healthier leader, better culture, or and some of you might recognize this now. Some of you might say it's strategic and you're being really healthy growth. I'm not judging here. I've been in both, as I've already said with you, but some of it could be some real unhealthy growth, that real reactive. That's that type of growth that stretches capacity without increasing your capability or considering your well-being. You could be seeing record profits. Remember that 250% growth I was talking about? That total exhaustion that I was experiencing, that loss of identity. I should update the slide and put that on there. That loss of identity that I had. It's impressive, isn't it? But is it healthy? No. You can do more by considering that strategic, healthy growth. And again, I'm going to give you these to be able to take away, but measuring your growth sustainably. Some of you that are boards of directors, you have a coach, you have a mentor. I give this to my clients. How are you measuring your growth? Ask yourself some of these questions this week in the meetings that you might have in your next board meeting. Are we getting better, not just bigger? Are our systems and people able to handle the next stage? Does growth align with our purpose and values? Some of you might question whether your purpose and values need to be changed, actually, whether they are really, truly what success is about for you. And that's where you need to start. Are we maintaining or improving well-being as we grow? If it's going in the opposite direction, that's not good. And does this growth create the life that we actually wanted? Does it meet that goal? Does it meet that vision of success? I'm going to shock you with this next slide, but there's a reason I put this on here. And we are not going to go through it today, but I'm going to leave it on the slide long enough for people to pause it on the recording. And I'm going to let you have a copy of it on the slides when it comes through. That's the whole idea on here. I'm being a really bad presenter, but I decided I'm going to break all the rules today. I'm going to let you use this in those boardroom meetings. I'm going to let you print it out on your desk as a reminder. It's the healthy growth matrix. It helps leaders identify whether their current growth is sustainable, strategic, aligned, healthy. Is it draining, reactive, misaligned? Can I let you take that away? Ultimately, are you growing sustainably and healthily, or are you growing unhealthily? So, wow, thank you for keeping up and engaging with me. I really appreciate it. I've got one thing to ask you. One thing. Let's not overcomplicate it. What is that one boundary that you're going to work on this week? What's that one thing that you are going to start doing to protect your energy? How will you start defining your success or rethinking your success rather than pushing yourself towards a goal that is unrealistic or somebody else's goal? If you feel comfortable, pop it into the chat. I normally ask at the end of my workshops if you can give me one positive action. I'd really love to be able to read them. It really excites me. So what's that one positive change, that one action, what one boundary that you're going to hold this week? Be more selfish. Rachel, if I had some Haribo, I could throw it down the screen, I'd throw it to you. I love that already. Being a little bit more selfish, that is amazing. Just whilst you're reflecting on that, I've got one last thing to ask you before we pass back to Anna. I feel like I beautifully timed this in here, so we've got a little bit of time to start getting your questions added into Q&A. So one thing I'm going to ask you is if you're using a laptop, a desktop, hello, I know you popped up my screen. It was nice to see you. Do you know, whenever I go to events and you see Anna there, she's always smiley and welcoming you. And I wonder whether she is being selfish enough herself. So
Ah,
just
to
quickly
match your
before
energy,
we,
Gary.
thank you. I've got some good energy. It's Monday. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask people if they can pop on their screen. Ricky, I'll try and capture that, but forgive me if I don't. I'm going to ask everybody if you've got your mobile phone near you, if you scan the QR code or go to that address on your screen, don't lose us. We're still here. And can you pop on to there? I love the fact I've got a code that says selfish. Just ask you a couple of questions, some feedback for me. I'm a professional speaker. Your feedback is really useful. If you say I'm rubbish, I really appreciate it. Just tell me why. But at the end of it, what it'll do is it'll give you my 5 tips for setting boundaries as a PDF. And what it'll also do is it'll give me your email address so I can make sure in the next 24 hours, I will send you an email manually. I will sit here and type it on this keyboard and I will send you through the slides. And then you've got me. You can ask me questions back and forth. I'm here to help. So I'm just going to leave that on the screen. Um, Anna, hello. We got some.
Hello.
How was that all right? I
I
didn't
love
pick on you
that,
enough with
Gary. I
your
love that
flights.
as a great start to the week, to be honest. I feel actually much more kind of energized and ready than I did probably an hour ago. So I really appreciate
Are
that.
you selfish enough though,
I
Anna? Because
don't know.
you're everywhere. Like
I know.
you're flying in. You're like turn up at events. You run around making sure that people who have dietary requirements like me and allergies to make sure that I eat.
Important. It's important stuff, of course. Am I selfish enough? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should be more selfish based on this webinar. It's a funny thing to say, isn't it? Based on, I could see everyone kind of saying in the chat, it's going to be a funny one having to switch that on its head almost, because as
Mm,
people were saying, selfish has often come with negative connotations, and it's kind of course, you don't want to be selfish to the point of negativity, but selfish is
mm.
important to protect your boundaries and setting you up for success. So I thought that was really interesting. I could see it resonating with everyone in the chat as well. So thank you so much to everyone who
Thank
was
you.
being really interactive this morning. It's been fantastic to see that too. I was really enjoying people's different kind of measures of success and like seeing everybody's different descriptions of that, which I think was lovely.
Mm,
Success is a happy patient that I've made a difference for, or it's about having the freedom to live my life there I want to, wherever I want to. Client calm time. So I just thought that was lovely in the space of, people talking about success and also about what boundaries look like. So, an essential part of mental well-being, but also I loved Lara's description. She said, I believe boundaries are
I'm
our
trying to eat.
responsibility. It's not so much about don't send me emails after 6, and instead it's I don't respond to emails after 6.
Put an
Um,
out of office on and say that. Like,
yeah,
I wish that we could time our out of offices, by the way. That somebody, is that something we can do? Like
don't
my out of
know.
office, sorry to jump in with you. Like a
Yeah,
lot of people I see now, they have an out of office where it goes, "Thank you for your email. Please note that I only check my emails once a day. If it's urgent, then for those of you that need to get hold of me, you have my number." And that's
yeah,
like, wow.
yeah.
Like,
And then you'll
how
just end
guilty
up with
would you
an
feel ringing them if it
influx
wasn't
of
urgent?
influx of phone calls.
Yeah.
Oops.
You're
No,
like, why is my phone ringing? But like, how am I like that should just
yeah.
be default, shouldn't it?
Totally. I remember coming across that I saw that for the first time probably about a year ago. I remember the first time I got an out of office saying, this isn't an out of office, but these are the ways that I work and this is how I do things. And I thought, wow, it just, I don't know, it was a real level of respect. It's like, okay, great. Like I know when to contact you. And if you don't contact me right away, it's not because, I've sent the wrong email or you're just ignoring me, but it might take you a few days to respond or whatever. So yeah, I don't know, it really resonated, which I really liked.
I find when I'm on the train and I'm having to do like work and I'm going to another presentation I'm doing and then I'm going somewhere else and I think, where have I got time to be able
Yeah.
to get through my emails? I have a amazing PA that looks after me, absolutely amazing, who I almost feel I should be on this session today as well sometimes, but yes. Did we have any questions? Did anybody go
I
to?
didn't, you know what, unless I miss they were a
Mm.
very interactive group, which was fantastic. Does anyone have any specific questions for Gary? Because I can see you all saying that you're going to be implementing a lot. I know Tracy just said a really brilliant session that reminds me I really need to up my game in the boundary sense. So we're going to be upping our boundaries game.
A
Um,
friend of mine is brilliant at it, and he changed his job and he went to somebody else and then went back to the same company. Had a horrendous time actually, and they
yeah,
were like, Where have you been and what's going on?" And you're a completely different person. And
yeah,
it's because he went back and he wasn't holding the boundaries as much, and there was that he had some real strong respect within the team.
yeah.
So, I mean, yes, the very first time you start doing it, they might think, Anna's been a bit of an idiot this week. What's going on?
Hope
So,
not.
don't be an idiot is that disclaimer. But people might feel a bit sharp and like, oh, what's got into Anna this week? But if we
Just set my
explain,
boundaries.
I say, do you know, I don't work after 4 o'clock, Anna. I don't do meetings after four
Yeah.
o'clock. I'm as of this week, I'm working on my boundaries, and that is one of them. Tell people what you're doing as a New Year's resolution, maybe. Like start today, but
I
tell
love
people why.
this. I feel like I've had a real, yeah, I hope everyone else has as well, that they feel that they've got some really practical tips they can pop into their business. So, yeah, I can see. Wonderful
So
presentation. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
And
A
you'll
true
all get the
line.
recording sent to you. The slides were just, you could access them from the slide before, couldn't you?
Sorry.
No,
Yes,
you're fine. You're fine. I think.
you know where we are. People that have, by the way, that are watching the recording, this might not be available. So if you send me an email at hello@garyparsons.uk, if this QR code isn't working, I forgot to say that at the start, then send it through. But yeah, that's my phrase that I live by the way. I just forgot to do that.
I love it. Prioritizing yourself isn't selfish, it's strategic. Absolutely.
I need to
Um,
start selling these, don't I? These
I
lovely
think you
t-shirts.
should. I think you should. I think you should get a merch shop going, Gary. We'll all be a little bit more selfish and we can all turn up to Small Business Saturday or Small Business Britain events with selfish t-shirts
Yeah,
on.
exactly. We're like, this team is a bit spiky. What's going on? It's like, oh, we're all being more selfish. It's fine. We
I
are
can
nice
see
people.
Yvonne in the chat commenting, offering to help you with your merch. So
Straight in there, Yvonne. Like
love it.
do you know, I missed you, Yvonne, on Friday. Yvonne went along to meet the Small Business Britain team,
Yeah.
Small Business Saturday team,
Saturday, yeah.
Matt and the team in Derby on Friday. And I saw her there with a bright umbrella and stuff. So
Yes, we love it. For
love
guys, for
Yvonne.
context, if you haven't seen, do check out the Small Business Saturday Instagram account. Matt and Josh from the Small Business Saturday team are on the road at the moment, visiting a different town or city every day, Monday to Friday, in the run up to Small Business Saturday, visiting small business owners. So please do have a look on the Small Business Saturday page to see what they're getting up to. And it's fantastic. So for just a bit of context, do check that out. But thank you so much for today, Gary. It was a
Thank
really
you.
fantastic webinar. You can see his wonderful socials, guys. The wonderful Gary Parsons, the lovely Gary Parsons. Got lots of adjectives for you today.
I'm
Adjectives.
so happy that I got you today. I mean, I love everybody else. Don't tell them. And this obviously this isn't recorded, even though
It
we've said it a lot.
is.
But yeah, I'm so pleased that I had you as my host today. Thank
Ah.
you.
Oh, it's been brilliant. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. Thank you for joining us. And just a reminder that if you do, we've got these every day, Monday to Friday, up until Small Business Saturday. So please do check out our other webinars if you haven't done already. Same time, well, not same place, it'll be a different link, but do check them out. You'll be able to sign up via our newsletters or on the website. And if you attend 10 or more, you will get a free gift from us ahead of Christmas. So thank you guys. Really appreciate you tuning in and hopefully see you soon. And thank you, Gary, again.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So lovely to
Bye,
see lots of
guys.
familiar names. Cheers.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.